gentlemen.
Ermagerd.
And we can.
What's
We're
going
good to
on?
go.
What's happening?
It is going on YouTube. We're up on Twitch.
The world's a strange
is
place.
networking. I'm looking in the wrong Facebook group.
Hate when that happens. Type in like, how do you treat this raging case
Of herpes.
of herpes?
Herpes. That's
And-
exactly where my mind went too.
And you end up
Yay.
in Simply Synths, and you're like, what? That's either the old group is trolling, or the internet's just bad at things.
It's the Facebook AI algorithm is being tops again.
Hey, Bridgewater, what's going on?
Bridgewater.
I like the concept of this slow, low impact open.
I'm still sharing stuff. Share. I want to share this to a group. Go Simply Synth.
Well, while we're waiting, I got this other. I was working on a kick. It's all just a kick, and then I threw some other stuff on top of it. And it sounds kind of cool. I'm gonna flip that right now.
Do it. Ooh, that's a nice kick.
Damn fine kick, son.
Everything you hear here is part of the kick, except for that bass. Now I'm adding in some layers, and it's really rough, but it's fun.
I like that happy little snare there. It's just so happy to snare for you.
It's just happy to be there. It's like I get to be with all these other people. And that's cool.
Right?
So much compressor.
Presser does not dance.
That was that.
That is a mighty good compressor.
Oh, just when it's kind of going, and then when the kick stops, like everything emerges from the depths. And it's like, oh hi, we've got all our transients back. How you doing?
Yeah,
oh God,
ooh,
it's coming again. Oh,
Yep, that was some fast attack. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Gear-Splaining 50. Finding your voice. How's everyone doing out there? Today we're gonna have a fireside chat, and we're gonna
Are you like,
have. What do you think about that, X?
what the hell?
All right, all right. So, how's everyone doing? Been a pretty fucking weird week, right, guys?
Oh my fucking god.
Last week we did it was like we're gonna have a fireside chat, and we're gonna try to make people feel better about things, take their mind off of it, and talk honestly about things. And then it was like, holy shit, it got worse every day.
Last week when Doug was like, yeah, so what do you think they're gonna do for NobCon? We're like, dude, if it's still going on when NobCon's around, we got bigger problems. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got bigger problems.
Yep, we sure do. Anyway, as long as the fourth horseman is out there stalking us still, we better deal with this. So my thesis, Wambra, you're out playing pool. Wambra, please tell me you're not at Shooters playing pool, because you're gonna get the thing. Run!
Does Shooters
Oh my God.
out there in Chicago?
I don't know, but if there's any place that wouldn't have gotten the message, it probably would have been Shooters.
That's fair.
It lives in a bubble. It's like 1985 in there perpetually.
I don't doubt this at all.
He might just be saying he likes pool, and that's why he posted those. But yeah, it's like the crabbiest version of Endays. So here's the thesis that I've running. You guys tell me. Okay, Shooters is closed. Okay, got it. Cool. I hope you have a pool table in your basement, because otherwise you're gonna have to like hook up your gear and make some music for us.
Oh no.
So here's my thesis, guys. So it's like the stages of grief, and you keep going through them, right? Except like, we have no idea when things happen. So there was like anger, I know, in there for a lot of people, and there was resignation. Well, my thesis right now is that people need to take back control. And in order to take back control, what can you do? Well, don't be an asshole. Don't like go outside and start yelling at a cop or something, okay? And I think that the most potent thing we have at our disposal to take back control is our voice. And a lot of people, I have noticed a lot of people in the last week have come into our world in some ways and said, hey, we want to stream. They don't know what they're doing. They grab their phones and they like try to film themselves and it sounds like crap, or they're trying to DJ on Facebook and it's getting shut down by the algorithm, or they're trying to do all sorts of things along those lines and it's just not working out. And so what I want to do is, hey, Neon, is to try to give a primer of sorts for people to be able to get their voice and put it out there if they feel like that's something that's going to help them take control of their life. And it will help. Because here's what's going on. Obviously, everybody knows about things outside, but we also are a species that's incredible, and we're going to start adapting. We're going to find new ways to do things. And the new normal will continue to shift because it's in a variable state. And where it goes next will be up to us if we take the reins. So taking control, finding your voice, that is what I want to bring to everybody here. And to do that, we're going to explain some gears that is going to help people do that. Help people if you want to stream to YouTube or Facebook or Twitch. If it's music or an opinion or anything, we're going to do some step-by-step stuff and show people exactly what to do in order to take control and get your voice out there. So that's really where we're at on this.
You teed up such a great intro, such a great reveal for the show, and then you just monster trucked right over it. So
what did I monster truck over?
You were like, it's going to be about finding your voice. Boom! Welcome to Gear-Splaining, episode 50.
Oh, God.
And you were just
right.
like...
Hold on, let me do this.
You were just like...
Let me backtrack. You're right. When you're right, you're right.
Truck.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to backtrack.
Sunday.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone's frustrated. Everyone needs to find their voice because that's how you're going to take control of your life. Take your life back. Welcome to Gear-Splaining 50. Finding your voice. Golf club.
Oh, wait, here we go. Finding your voice. Da-da-da. That was good. What's going on, peoples?
Yeah. Emerson, Lake and Palmer with Aaron Copeland live before the Olympics playing to an empty stadium. 1985. Or 84. 84 probably, because it was in LA. Yeah. All right, so let's do this. We got Ix, we got Co, we got myself, Dan Kushner. One of the things that we're doing... I'm watching it on delay and I realize the timing of the logo coming through that just happened. Ix said it. Part of it is social interaction is important. So I do want people to be finding ways to take care of themselves, even if you can't leave your house, to find a way to interact and be there with your friends and talking to your friends. It's important for mental health. If you're not doing that, you're going to go into a dark place very easily. And if you are in a dark place, it's one of the best ways to climb out is to be with other people. With no obligations and people you enjoy the company of and that you admire for reasons. But I want to go one step further because that's where we're at last week, and that is this taking control piece. Now, this week, there is going to be some notable absences for regular viewers of our show. There is literally no Placido Domingo news.
I'm so disappointed by that.
Yeah. He picked this week to not be a fucking asshole. There's no Papa John's news, which is also pretty sad, although I kind of understand it's hard to get pizza these days. So here we go. It makes the joke funnier, I guess.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it, I honestly don't know. I haven't had pizza in like months, so.
I kind of want pizza now.
There's a decent chance that if you eat a lot of Papa John's, you're immune to coronavirus. I mean, I don't have proof, but coronavirus would die in Papa John's body. That's all I'm saying.
I think most things would probably die in Papa John's body. Including Papa John, really.
Yeah, he doesn't have organs anymore. He just has two pizzas beating away.
He just has sausages.
Yeah, exactly. Papa John did call the reckoning. Yeah, he said everyone's going to pay for what they did to him.
There you go.
I guess in some ways,
the Papa John virus.
Is Papa John the fourth horseman of the apocalypse? Is he a prophet of doom? When I thought he was like mad at his board, but he used ambiguous language there when he said that, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was like, you all are going to pay. And I thought he was talking about the board or people who hated him, but he might have been talking about like everyone's going to pay.
Humanity as a whole.
He gave us pizza and we mocked him for it.
There was no pizza before Papa.
And now we all must face the reckoning. Yes, he's the chimp from Outbreak. No, he's not the chimp from Outbreak. He's Patrick Dempsey from Outbreak. Yeah, that's right.
So I like that we just, instead of like, because there was no Papa John news, we just made it up.
Yeah. Make sure everyone spreads that around, by the way, that Papa John is the fourth horseman to doom, and this is the reckoning he's bringing. All right, so yeah, that is pretty good stuff right there.
Oh yeah.
So I want to make this instructional, and I also want to talk about our experiences streaming so that we can help people get their stuff off the ground. And I'm going to spam this around tomorrow so people see how to stream. So here's item number 1 for streaming is be authentic, right? Would everyone agree that is, if you're not authentic, then don't even bother.
Unless you're acting intentionally.
Or really, really, really smoking. Never mind.
Or I hate to quote Bill Cosby, but he kind of got it right when he did that joke about like he said, well, what is it, son, that you like about cocaine? And he goes, well, it enhances my personality. And he's like, well, yes, but what if you're an asshole? So I think that the authenticity is or maybe your authenticity is just not something that people are interested in.
Yeah, people could hate you. Yeah, it's true. But if people hate you and you're being authentic, I still say go with authentic. You should get a real reaction, and eventually you will find people who are on the same wavelength as you. That's really what I believe. Kind of the reason why authentic, it might not be more popular than something else. You could make a decision that makes you more popular, but is less authentic. But I think if you are yourself and you run it up the flagpole, you see who salutes. I think that's the best way to really connect in a genuine way. And that's what finding your voice is all about. It has to be something you're passionate about, something you believe in, something that comes from inside you, something that you want. That's what I think is all about, having edge content being developed by people as opposed to corporate kind of calculated content. It's that realistic push for something that people can connect to because it's real. At the same token, though, sometimes, I mean, I've done streams that were like completely like avant-garde, weird, artsy shit that like I just pulled out of my butt while I was in the shower. You know, whether it still seems like it came from within you, within your butt. Maybe, yeah, but within my butt, maybe. But yeah, you know, it's at the same time, it's like, you know, authentic could be artificial as well. You know, sometimes you try too hard, and sometimes, you know, and sometimes you don't, you know, and sometimes people try too hard to be authentic to the point where it's just like, it's difficult to watch. All right, so let's see. We have some good comments that we really do need to cover here. First, A. Bridgewater points out that Papa John is probably a different horseman of the apocalypse, likely famine. And that's probably true because his main product has been food-like substance and not real food. That's probably true. Not pestilence. So propaganda is also worthy, and we need to say that out loud, the propaganda. Neon House says maybe you're authentically a douchebag. It's probably true. And Co regarding or Grogi regarding what Co says that maybe you're just authentically a douchebag. Mm-hmm. No, I'm sorry. Little Puddin' Papa Wisdom. Yeah, Little Puddin' Papa Wisdom. There you go. And you might also be a douchebag, but little Puddin' Papa Wisdom. All right, so here's and for everyone viewing this over on Facebook or who's going to view this later, interact with chat. That's lesson number 2. Be authentic. Lesson number 2, interact with chat. They'll ask you questions. They'll say things to you, and you should respond. You should try to find a way to let chat be a part of it. Make it something that you can have a back and forth with. I mean, sometimes you're giving a performance, and then you're not going to necessarily interact with chat. But if you're talking, finding your voice, being able to have that feedback loop with the people who are watching you makes it ever so much important. Think of it like a radio show, like terrestrial radio. They have call-in lines and they talk to people all the time. That's your chat.
We'll get to some of the elements of a stream, but if you think about like your audio and your lighting and or video and your whatever it is you're doing, it could just be chatting, it could be a performance, whatever, and chat. It's like an equal part of all of those. Like, because it really is a conversation.
That's what makes this a different medium, period.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean like jump on your keyboard. That means like grab a mic and interact in real time, if possible. It's going to be your best route to connect. Also, it's not just for your audience, it's also for you. When you're connecting with the audience, it's more fun and you're going to be more authentic and you're going to seem a lot less stiff.
Equalive says chat, and that's a joke because during his streams, if anybody knows, he gets so in the zone he forgets about chat for like a half hour at a time, and that's authentic too. You can absolutely do that.
If you can,
Dequel also has the thing that goes by that says I might not.
He apologizes for it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's
And I suppose if you're putting on a good enough, an entertaining enough program, then sure, you can probably get away with that. Dequil can get away with that. Good job. Although I still do look forward to those moments when he jumps on the mic and is like, I totally forgot about you guys for like an hour and a half. Sorry about that.
Well, remember, it's not. It's about being honest to the thing that you're presenting as well. You don't need to chat unless it fits. If it totally rocks what you're doing, it doesn't have anything to do with it. But if you're trying to find your voice, you should be thinking about that. You should acknowledge people. You should make sure you have that feedback loop, even if it's minimal, if you can, if it makes sense for what you're doing. If you're doing an avant-garde synth stream, maybe you type your chat. Like if you're doing a developing curl patch, guess what? If you got on the mic and started talking, that'd be kind of almost like shocking, right? Someone listening to that would be it would come off kind of weird, so that might not be the right call either, but it's probably the right call to do it in most things, to at least acknowledge it, to say hi, and in some cases to have a whole conversation with people, because then you start to get to know your audience and they start to get to know you. All right, so let's get into some of the more technical things though. All right, what do you guys want to cover first? Do we want to cover OBS? Do we want to cover composition, lighting? Where do we want to go with this? I want to be specific. I want to think about if someone is watching this who wants to stream and right now all they think of is their cell phone, what's the first thing that they should do? And I have an idea of what it is. I just want to hear what you guys think first. I guess download OBS.
It's OBS.
Or slobs.
If you want to make it more exciting.
I mean,
OBS, what you really want. You need OBS. That's the
Yeah.
OBS or slobs. Mm-hmm. So there are a myriad of other options for broadcast out there, and they may cost money. And I really think that you should just say screw it to those and just go with slobs or OBS. They're free.
With the exception that if you're going to bust out like, the multi-$1,000 version of vMix because you're just that awesome, hey, more power to you. vMix is badass. Truly is. You don't need it to stream your DJ set or to have a conversation with your audience.
Yep. But we are not. Yeah. If you're starting out, if you're just now trying to get going, you don't need to have expensive broadcast software. You can go real far in OBS or slobs. And you do not need to have an expensive piece of software.
OBS blows me away, and I know that there's like a learning curve to it. But I mean, compared to actually going into like considering that you're basically literally getting a video production studio for free on your computer that you can modify, add stuff to, and it does so much for free. I mean, it's well worth the learning curve. I mean, considering that like, any kind of commercial broadcasting complex has got an even larger learning curve for that kind of stuff. And for what you're doing, for what the amount of power that you really have in that system is just, it's nuts. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so incredibly good for free. And it can be a drag, and slobs can also be a little bit of a pain. But I
I'm
have a
just gonna
hard
put it out
time
there.
believing that there's.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it out there that that caveat that you put on there, it's unbelievably good for free. No, it's unbelievably good. Full stop. Like
Yeah, if you
even
paid, it would be unbelievably good.
yeah, even compared to the more expensive options or the more developed options or whatever it is. I mean, even take a look at something like Slobs, which is Streamlabs OBS. It's their own spin on OBS. They have added some remarkably cool features that make streaming way easier, especially if you're doing so on Twitch or you do have a lot of, game content or interactivity on your stream. It's awesome. Does all kinds of things. It's also a flaming pile of garbage compared to OBS, which it is based on. Like, how do you take a thing which is awesome, build more awesome things on top of it, and end up with a product that is actually worse? Talk to Streamlabs. They can tell you how that works, but it's a trade-off. So, if you can get by with the shortcomings of Streamlabs OBS, it brings a lot of fantastic utility and a lot of kind of ease of use, quality of life features, which are great. But you can't go wrong with the original OBS because goddamn is it a powerhouse.
And it will run on fucking anything. Unlike Slobs.
Yep. Yes. And it starts up in a second instead of Slobs, which takes sometimes a small eternity.
Yeah, it needs to think about it.
Yep.
So let's show
OBS.
OBS.
The Slobs, so
I want to actually do a screen share. Because I actually want to walk everyone through this. How can I do share in Slobs? By the way, we're using Whereby. It is a conference call piece of software, and Ko is actually hosting it on his computer. And so that's actually how that is working out. Just in case anybody was wondering. Application window, Chrome tab. Where's OBS? Oh, well. Okay, I'll just do screen one. Okay, so I'm not going... it's going to be crazy for a minute.
Oh, no. Hide your port.
All right, here we go.
Real quick, Ampersand, you said you're not seeing the issues with Slobs. That's good. So that means that that's a good fit for you because you haven't yet gotten to a point, or maybe you never will. That's completely reasonable too, where you're pushing on the software and asking it to do things that are complex enough that you begin running into some of those rough edges. And so for your use case, it's kind of ideal because you get all of the benefits and you don't see any of those rough edges.
Is my screen on? Am I showing?
Yep.
Is it streaming through? Because I'm looking, it looks like it's still S3. It could be delayed.
Yeah, it's streaming through. I'm seeing it.
All right. Wild, y'all.
Damn, B, you got some delay. Maybe F5 that, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. There we go. There we go. Wow, I am really delayed. Hold on. Yeah, give me a sec. I'm going to restart Twitch. Okay, so here we go. This is OBS. I use this for broadcasting my show on Monday with Plumbus and on Saturday.
That's Slobs, Dan.
This is Slobs. Yes, that's correct. I use
OBS,
this instead of OBS because it has the remote application. That's the only reason I do it. The remote application is what I do it for. I could get a Stream Deck, which is a $100 Elgato piece of equipment, and run it back there, and I could change scenes. So the first thing to know is you got to build up a scene. This is my opening scene. It has the banner. Here's another scene. This has a combination. I don't even use these graphics anymore, but you can see them. Another scene. Scenes are just you take your elements, which are your sources, and you add them in. And that's how you build up and do your transitions. So we're going to create a quick new scene. Click Add Scene. You name the scene. I'm going to call this Papa John Scene. I don't know. I'm combining some things there.
Smooth.
Yeah, not bad, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here we go. It's blank. Why? Because sources has nothing in it. Hit the plus button. All right, now you have to pick what you want to put in. Image will go to a folder on your hard drive, and you will find an image, and you can put that in there. Browser source, similar, except you find it from your browser. Image slideshow, a folder with multiple images, and it'll cycle through them. Display capture, if you have multiple windows. Game capture, it's not just for games. You can also use this if you use a program like Magix that does graphic generation like I have on my blue screen. Audio input capture is just if you have something that is putting through audio. I don't even know what scene is, or color source, or media
I can
source.
tell you
Maybe
really
Co
quick.
knows.
Scene is one of the
Aha.
coolest features in OBS/slob/stream elements, whatever. So you go back to your scenes for a sec, or just pick a scene that has like an element or two, like your opening scene. All right, so if we take a look at this scene, what we see, I'm trying to blow it up so I can see it. What we can see there, if you go over into the sources. Oh no, let's see the sources. There you go. So just click on one of the sources. The first one, alert box, right? So alert box, you can see the position there in what we call the canvas, and that has all of his alerts from what, Streamlabs or Stream Elements, something like that. Yeah.
I literally have both running right now.
Sure, but that's where they go. So like if somebody does like hey, this person just followed, or hey, this person just gave you bits, or whatever it is, that's where it shows up in the stream. What's the next one down? Can't quite read it.
Image slideshow.
Image slideshow. So he's got a bunch of images, like, GIFs, JPEGs, whatever, and it goes through and it just loops through them. And it's up in the corner there where you can see the kind of Dan character, and that's perfect because it's going to constantly slip, new content up there to keep it exciting. What's the next one?
DK1. So this is a website. This is coming from Stream Elements. And so it's a blank overlay that captures Stream Elements things. I have it up top because there
you go.
So I have new follower, my name, and then new subscriber up here. And then if you do things like Capagen, that's how this comes through as well.
Now, what's the next one?
Modcam. So this is modular.
Okay.
This
so
is my
stop right there.
270.
Stop right there. So those first three elements, chances are you're going to want those in every scene, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you can either copy and paste each of those sources or reinitialize all those sources into every single scene over and over and over ad infinitum if you want to. Or you can create a scene that has just those three elements in it and nothing else, and then you select the scene as a source, and you select that scene. Boom, all of those are imported into a single item that has all of those things collected together. So now if you make a change to that one scene, which can be, call it overlay or call it my normal stuff that goes into every scene, you can make that change there and it applies to every single scene you have. And using that same technique, you can also get really, really crafty and complicated with the things that you set up, where you can have like, a foreground layer and a background layer that are always, having updated information. And in the middle, maybe you put the camera view or multiple camera views or some animation that's specific to that particular scene. And in doing so, you're saving yourself a ton of work and you're keeping remarkable consistency. Because how many times have you gone to set up like a bunch of identical scenes and you accidentally move one of the frames or something, and now when you switch between scenes, one of your elements kind of slides over to the side a little bit. And it's like, I gotta fix that later, and then hopefully you remember to do that. But you can take all that guesswork out of the way and just use what we call nested scenes.
Cool.
Also, you can
Inception.
just copy and paste those scenes, and then they'll stay in the exact same spots as well, or those elements rather.
Yep. So that's one way to do
yeah.
it. And when you do a copy and paste like that, you'll notice that you'll get a choice of two different things. You can either make a duplicate, or you can make a reference. A duplicate literally creates a brand new version of that thing that is loaded into memory, and it will actually tend to bog down your system. There are times when you want that, though, because maybe you want to do something unique, like if you're transforming it in some way.
Right.
Versus a reference, which is, an exact carbon copy, because it's actually referencing the other thing. It works a lot like a nested scene, except it's just almost like a nested source. You're just saying, hey, when you load this source, actually don't load it here. Just look in that other place where it came from and load whatever's there into here. And that can be a little bit lighter on memory. But take it to the next level, nested scenes, all that goes away.
Yeah. That's slick.
We have a question in chat from Ampersand. How are Stream Elements and Streamlabs themes designed? It's just graphic design. So it's literally just the same way we're putting elements on here, except you do it there. There's an editor in Stream Elements, and you lay down JPEGs or whatever imagery you want, and then they have macros and other things that you can set up that interact specifically with your chat or other functions that are already designed, and then you save it as a scene, and then anything you don't design in there is blank or see-through, so you could put it as your top or one of your top items, depending on how you want layers stacked.
Yeah,
and then that's just how it works.
I don't know if anybody remembers way back in the day when I used to do this thing called streaming. I had kind of the borders and some of the elements like the name would kind of animate and things like that. Those were all just things that were made in, GIMP or Photoshop or whatever you want. And then you put it on an alpha channel and you stick it on there and you key out anything that you don't want and boom, there you go. So, or you can use one of their pre-made ones, which are nice.
All right, here's the rest of them. Media source. So if you have a movie that you want to play over and over, text window capture. So that's like it's not the same as display capture, which is like if you have two monitors, monitor 1, monitor 2, window capture captures a specific window that you may have open. Video capture device and audio output capture are video capture device is the most important. That's where you pick your cameras. That's these two. So one of them is zoom. That's my establishing shot. It's called zoom because the camera I originally did it on was zoom, and I have another thing plugged into it now, but I never changed the name. And then mod cam. And then game capture. I have a blue screen back there. I don't have it running right now, but it shows graphics. So I run that on the same computer as this. So it thinks it's a game and it's capturing it. And that's used typically by people who are doing video game streaming. Then you have your audio component here. I'm going to stress this to people. Do not shirk on audio. You do not need to spend much money to get it right, but you need to get it right if you're going to stream. This is important.
Especially music.
Especially music.
Music,
even not music.
Music is one side, and your bridge, the thing that you're interacting with, your voice. So important that it's right, because if it's not right, if it's grating and harsh, people don't want to listen. If it's too quiet, people don't want to listen. If it cuts in and out like this and they can't really hear what the hell's going on, people don't want to listen. Like, the patience level for that sort of thing is very small, especially if, somebody's surfing around looking at a bunch of different streams and they come to yours and yours is wildly out of whack. They'll just find somebody else. There's no shortage of entertaining people to go watch.
So here's how you do it. This is to Womber's question. It prioritizes based on which one is on top of the other. It's a layers thing. So this would be prioritized over this, and thus it would show above it, unless there's no conflict, in which case you could see them both.
Yep.
Back to
stacks
audio.
them real quick. It stacks them top down. So if you have something in your sources list at the top of the sources list, that is furthest in the foreground. It's closest to the camera, or closest to the viewer. And then as you go down that list, it keeps going back further.
All right, next on this, or back to audio though. If you were doing just a vocal show, you should get some kind of mic. I use a headset for this because I also need to be able to hear directly what Ko is saying or what other guests are saying. But if I didn't, I would probably get a USB mic. Or, I have a nice interface. I could just bring my condenser over here and use that and put it on a stand. You do not need to spend much money on this. This is not something that you need to throw down a lot of cash on. You can spend $80 and get it right. You can get a USB condenser mic made for streaming, and then suddenly your quality has improved so much.
With a caveat.
With a caveat.
So let's talk mics for a moment. So if you are doing what we're doing now, which is sitting in a quiet room, perhaps with some sound treatment, and you're just talking to people and saying hello, then by all means, a condenser mic is fantastic because they're very sensitive. They pick up every little detail in your voice, and if you have the right interface for it, whether it's USB or whether it's a phantom-powered interface, they're easy to drive. You just turn them up a tiny little bit. You're good to go. However, if you're doing a music show and you are playing through live monitors, not headphones, and so there's a lot of audio in the room, or if you're in an environment, maybe you're streaming from a party and there's people shouting and there's all kinds of things going on, you're going to want to choose a dynamic microphone. These would be like, your Shure SM58 or something like this. This is more expensive, but you don't even need to get an expensive one. just a dynamic microphone. They're harder to drive, so if you plug them into your interface, you want to test that out before the stream, make sure you have enough level.
Oh yeah.
Maybe add some software gain if you need to. It's going to depend distance. So when I'm talking into this mic, which is, it's a good mic, but watch as I just kind of lean back just a little bit, I begin to disappear. Or if I come off axis to the mic and I start talking over here, that's it. Like, I'm gone. You do that with a condenser mic, it'll just sound like they're slightly further away. I do it on a dynamic mic, game over. So
that's a nice mic, by the way, Co. I just have to say.
I also like the mic.
Thank you.
Good selection.
Yeah.
And real quick, to address something that Ampersand asked, is there any ducking involved when layering audio sources? Not by default, and we can get into that a little bit later, but one thing that's really cool about OBS over a lot of other broadcast software is it supports VSTs. More on that later.
All right, so let's set up a scene. Super simple scene. I'm going to add one video source, video capture device. We're going to add source. I already have a few created. You can create a new one by clicking on add source, and it will just drop it in. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do that so I can show that dynamic off. Let's see. So properties. You add the source, then you come in here, device, and you find which one you want to use. Now, since I already have all them assigned, I'm going to remove this and I'm going to pick one that already exists. That way I don't screw up any of my other profiles. Video capture device. So we're going to make the whole thing mod cam. Then you size it like this. It is not hard to size. You can go beyond the borders. You can stretch. You can hold down shift and squeeze it if you want. It's up to you how you want to do it, but get it set up how you want it. Now, this is the moment when I'm going to tell you, if you have too much crap on screen, that's not cool. Don't make it like a cable news show from the mid-2000s where there's things going across everywhere. No one wants to watch that. It looks like diarrhea. Make it focus in compositionally on you. Focus in compositionally on what you want people to focus on. You want them to see, if you're music, you want them to see your gear. If you're talking, you want them to see you. Look at all of our shots. So Co's shot, he even has a blue screen out, and he can use chroma key to get rid of that. And that's beyond what we're really going to get into here. I am composed right in the center, and everything behind me is somewhat strategically designed so that it's interesting to look at. In addition, my face is not blue because I have lighting in the room to make sure that there's enough light that I'm not getting light just off of my monitor. Ix has interesting lighting going on behind him. Clearly chose his shot in a way that makes it compelling to look at his screen. But even then, he is still set up so that his positioning within there is central, and you're able to focus on him when he's talking. Let's see, we got some. Okay, I spammed on Facebook. Thank you, Juliet. Let's see. Bridgewater, trade-off across mic types is interesting, can be rather affected by your environment. I'm probably less than 30 feet away from a state route with little audio insulation in the way because old house.
100%.
Yeah, you got to be taking that into account. There's no doubt.
The best plan is...
I have my furnace is like 15 feet away and it fires up every like 10 minutes or so. So if that door's not closed, which it isn't right now, I mean, I don't hear it.
I would highly recommend
microphone.
That, if you're thinking about a certain mic and you aren't sure, just go ahead and hook it up, add it as an audio source, set your recording mode in OBS to something really basic, like 240 by 160 at super low bit rate, and just hit record and leave the mic on and let it sit there for like an hour. And then when you're done, come back into the room and hit stop, take that file and drop the audio into Audacity, for example, which is a wave editor, and just look at the waveform really quick. If it's just a flat line that kind of warbulates a little bit, you're good. You're golden. Go for it. But if you see big spikes or you see big blobs in that waveform, maybe investigate, listen to it and go, oh, I know what that is. That's my furnace. Or, oh, that the sound from the fans on my computer makes like this low hissing noise. Now I've got like a noise floor. I need to do something about that. Maybe I need to put up a divider. Maybe I need to do some active sound cancellation. That's a thing we can also talk
You
about.
could reverse the phase on it and then just hit play when you stream.
Yes, so that we'll talk about that. That's a thing.
That may be more advanced than we want to go through. Here.
It's super easy.
It is easy to do, but I'm not sure everybody's going to
Everybody can do it. I'm telling you, with free plugins, by the way.
All right, so adding audio is a snap, right? If it's coming into your computer, you can add it from here, and then it's just a matter of selecting it. Once again, just go to Properties and select it. It will already have one up for you automatically, and then as you add other sources, they will add from there, right? So one of them is going to be like desktop audio, and there's some that are already going to happen. So if you have things on your desktop you want to have play through, so in other words, if you want to play YouTube videos or things like that, you simply select. I have a lot of sources because I have a lot of audio going on, and because I own an MX1, and MX1 is crazy. I would do Focusrite audio, or there is the desktop one, which is no longer in here. But monitor and output is also important to get right. Do not down mix to mono. You want people to hear you in stereo. And you can put VSTs on there. This is getting into the slightly advanced range, but I have a limiter I keep on mine. I could keep a compressor. So hit the gear. OBS or slobs will come with some. So there's a compressor already on there. I keep it at almost limiting range. I keep threshold at -4 with a pretty fast attack and release. I don't want to get there, but I want to make sure that if I accidentally do get there, I'm good. And then earlier you had asked about ducking ampersand. You can set ducking to happen within OBS. You just need to pick what source you want the ducking to come from within the compressor. Yep. This is the stock standard one that it comes with.
It works great.
In addition, there's another thing called VST 2.2.x plugin. And from here, as long as you have it pointing to the same folder, or you can duplicate folder to what it's pointing to, you are able to select plugins the same as you are in any other production session. So if I wanted to open up like VST instruments, I could. You can't play them because there's no sequencer, but it allows you to go with the wider range of commercial plugins, but I'm not sure that really matters. It comes with most of the things that you're really going to need. Gain, noise suppression, invert polarity, which is what I mentioned earlier, to get rid of noise as well. Noise gate. Noise gate, for those who don't know, what it does is if it's quiet enough, but there's still some sound, it'll just mute it. And then when you start talking again, it'll turn it back on. It can be a little bit stilted, though. It's hard to dial that one in. Compressor is important because what that does is it flattens dynamics. It makes the sections that are not as loud louder, and the sections that are louder not as loud. That is a very simplified version of what a compressor does, but it is also ultimately all that or distortion actually is. Limiter is a compressor with a very, very high ratio. Essentially, it's not governing over the long run. It just immediately flats it. That way you can't blow speakers or something. Expander is the opposite of a compressor. It makes the things that are slightly louder much louder. And VST 2.x plugin allows you to check from your own library. I don't do much. I keep a very simple touch. I do most of my processing over on the rig on my MX1, but I do keep that here. That way I can push it, and I never really am going to overload anyone's speakers.
Yeah, if you can keep it using the stock OBS plugins, you're in good shape. They're very low overhead. They work well. I would say that, one exception to that would be for noise removal, specifically for something like a background fan. That's a consistent noise that's just always there. The noise suppression tool that OBS gives you is kind of more of a general noise suppression, but using the Reaper plugins, which are free, just do a search for Reaper plugins. There's a tool called Reafir, Reafir, that comes in that group of plugins. You can pop that guy on there, and what you can do is quiet your room entirely and tell it to take a quick recording of the room through your mic. It'll take that sample, and then you say, okay, just remove that. And all incoming audio that passes through that audio channel will have all of whatever that sound was stripped away in real time. It works exceptionally well.
Yeah.
So one other thing, Dan, that
That's
I want
handy,
to touch
so.
on with audio really quick. I'm going to switch to my view. If you go into the actual, are you kidding me? I can't flip.
Windows 3.1 has encountered an error. It must shut down.
No,
Geez, blue screen time.
I'm going to have to do it this
Fucking
way.
Windows 95.
All right.
Papa John.
So let's take a look at this really quick. So this screen right here, a lot of people will not pay attention to it, or they'll put too much emphasis on it. You don't really have to use this. I'm sorry, you don't really have to use this if you don't want to, this audio tab. But I would recommend that you do. There's certain things that you want to touch on for sure. One is the sample rate. Make sure that the sample rate matches a sample rate that makes sense for your interface, whatever that is. If it's onboard audio, probably 44.1. Cool. If it's a nicer interface and you do all of your, DAW work at 96K, probably overkill. You can probably switch it down a little bit because nobody on Twitch or Facebook is going to care about your 96 kilohertz sample rate. 44 to 41 is plenty fine. Make sure that you're in stereo, of course, unless you don't want to be. But here, these right here, the devices, you can really choose to use these or not. The way that OBS is set up, you can kind of add devices as you need, just arbitrarily. But these are extremely useful because these get routed properly into a little table that they're good for quick reference. So for example, the desktop audio, setting your desktop audio correctly gives you your desktop audio kind of on a loop back so that people can hear it. And that's really useful to have. Desktop audio too, if you've got maybe a feed coming in from something else that isn't your computer specifically, maybe it's an external sound card or another mixer or something like that, that can also be useful because it loops back. It's something you can monitor. Anything that's in this list, you can monitor. Anything that's not in this list, it becomes more complicated. You can still monitor it, but it gets tricky. So I'd recommend that you use these. They set you up with 6 of them by default. That should cover 99% of people's needs. But, just be aware. Then you've got some control over how your meters respond. And then the monitoring device, you will almost certainly never have to touch this. So try not to at first. If you run into a special need where you absolutely need to, cool. But chances are you won't. And then down here you have hotkey mapping for activating or deactivating any of those specific audio inputs, which is really useful. So anyway.
If you have your keyboard near you, and if you're podcasting like we are right now, that's more useful because you have then that kind of direct control without having to go into settings. If you're doing a music stream, it's not going to be that useful, and you should probably try to get your settings that you want to change coded into scenes and get a stream deck.
Yep.
That way you can control it from where you are.
Yeah, setting up your volume levels and mutes and everything within scenes is absolutely the way to go if you're, kind of the one-man show. If you've got a producer there that can help you and press buttons for you, cool. But chances are, I don't think many of us, if any of us, do. So make it as kind of brain dead simple as possible because you want to be working on having a conversation with your audience and performing. You don't want to be worried about the ins and outs of OBS.
There's nothing worse than when you have those kind of technical issues because it pulls you out of the thing that you're actually there to do, and suddenly you're troubleshooting instead of rocking your specialty, making music or having a conversation. It pulls you out of it. There was a question way back. It was, do I set my mic to mono? I throw my mic through my rig usually, except for on Gear-Splaining. And on Gear-Splaining, I'm using a teleconferencing solution with Co. So I put it through MX1, so it's a channel over there because I put effects on it and I live loop it and I stream it. So it's kind of a moot point for me, but it is mono over there. I used to have it in stereo because it had a little bit of reverb coming off of it, but now I'm just using the reverb I keep on my board. And I didn't want to give up a stereo channel just for what is essentially one stereo source. It's not the focus of what I do.
Yeah, I think it'll depend. Right. It'll depend on your source. So for something like a mic is going to be projected when it comes in as a soft stereo. Basically, it's coming in. It's a mono signal, but it's coming in through maybe a stereo interface. The stereo interface isn't going to add any phase disruptions. It's not going to change the level on either channel. It's going to be the same both left and right. Therefore, it's mono.
Mono. Yep.
So if you want to check the box, check the box. I've never actually checked the box. Not a big deal. But I also, for other streams, I would use Dan's method. I have some kind of external mixer like your Allen and Heath, for example, Neon House, and then just take the feed from that.
And keep in mind that if you're doing all this stuff on a Mac, it's completely different.
Well, give us that perspective, because you're better suited to actually tell us about that than other Core.
Well, like
a lot of people
big,
use Mac.
Well, first of all, there's no slabs for Mac, so your OBS or you have to like buy something, and the stuff that's out there that you can buy doesn't look like it's worth it. Audio is the biggest thing that's different on there because the Mac handles audio very differently than Windows does. Not exactly in a good way. So you actually have to use a piece of software. It used to be called Soundflower, which basically is an audio routing application. But if you have a newer operating system, it won't work on that anymore. So there's a product called Loopback, which does cost money. But it kicks ass, and you can route your audio however you want to, wherever you want to, whatever source and everything like that. You can just do it all in this program and then just dump it right into OBS.
You can tell Ko was really excited about the Mac stuff. He was like, "I'm out of here."
He's like, I don't want to hear this.
I had to
shit.
grab
Fuck
something,
these guys.
but were you just talking about Soundflower by chance?
Oh yeah.
I touched on Soundflower and how it's no longer being supported. So
yes, but so that's actually a prescient point. So if you have, I'll just say this now: if you are a controller DJ, or you're using some kind of software into this hardware thing, and that's it, and you don't have another sound card, and you're like, I want to stream, and it should stream because that makes sense because I can hear it on my computer. Therefore, people should be able to hear it on the internet. First of all, just save yourself a ton of pain. Go buy a $25 interface. The little Behringer UC202 works fine.
I'm not recommending the Behringer anymore.
If somebody makes a knockoff of it, go for that one. But whatever, just it's not a high bar to just get an audio interface that you can take the output from your controller and plug it back in. Now, if you're like, Ko, $25 is just too much money. I like pain. Cool. All right. So in that case, it is possible to software route back out of your controller or out of the software back into something like OBS. Totally possible. On Windows, we would use a tool like Voicemeeter Banana. It is complicated. It's a pain in the ass. It requires you to restart your machine after you install it or make any major configuration changes, but it does work if you can follow instructions. And it's very much the same, where you take all of your inputs, you create a new bus, a new output, like a stereo output, you route all the things in software to that output, and then you feed that output back into a software like OBS. But don't say I didn't warn you. It's pain.
That's basically how you do it on a Mac. That's why I use Loopback, and I can route all the stuff through that. That's what's running right now on here. So that's what I run all my streams through. And the nice thing is once you fire it up, unlike on the Windows side, it just like you can add whatever you want to. You can make huge configuration changes. You can quit the thing, and it still runs as a service in the background.
Yeah,
so that
I had
way
no
it's
problems with
still,
Sunflower. It was confusing and weird, but it worked.
Yeah, Loopback is so much easier now. I mean, they redid the whole thing, and now that you got to pay for it, it's a lot easier. They made the actual support structures in place. So
nice.
Soundflower is pain. You wouldn't believe how many people actually go out of their computer and back in via interface just because of how painful Soundflower is. If you have to make one change, it's been months since you opened up the program. You're right back to the pain.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Get
but yeah,
I
don't. If I was saying to ampersand, I haven't really noticed too much of a difference on OBS on the Mac versus OBS for the Windows, but I have not really played with OBS in Windows, so I might not know what I'm missing. But from what I've seen and like the pictures and stuff like that, it's like it
should be the same.
The functionality is pretty much the same, except like DirectX versus Metal, because I think they finally switched to Metal finally.
And OpenGL still being the redhead stepchild of that equation on both sides. Yeah, something to remember, everybody. So this gets a little bit technical, but like if you play a video game on Windows, chances are it's running on a DirectX framework. That's just how how the game takes all the fancy graphics and conveys that to your video card drive or to, to the system, to Windows, so Windows can talk to your video card and make the fancy graphics. Now, there is on Mac, they've got Metal, right? And that's their own framework that does cool stuff, and it's very tightly integrated with the operating system and all that. There's another standard out there called OpenGL, and it works freaking great. It's fantastic. It works on Linux, works on Windows, works on Mac, works everywhere, basically. OpenGL ES is what every Android phone on the planet is using for graphics. But OBS, for whatever reason, can't always directly capture from it. So if you try to do something like a window capture, you might end up with just a black screen. And you're like, I don't understand. I see it on my screen, but I don't see it in OBS. In that case, that's where you whip out the Swiss Army knife of display capture, which literally just takes whatever's printed, whatever the pixels on your screen are, and just forwards that onto the element in OBS.
There it is. Display capture.
Which again, it's so amazing it does that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. It's just I'm assuming it's just reading directly from the not RAM deck. What is it? The come on, brain. I've got 96 of them. What are those things called?
Problems.
That's
and,
it.
And a B81.
Render output units.
All right, so here we go. I think we covered OBS. I think we covered broadcast software. Is there any other final notes on there? Because that is so central from a technical perspective, and I want to make sure that if there's anything else still out there that we really cover it. Juliet Starr points out that in other news, there's a condom shortage.
We covered audio in OBS, but we haven't hit anything as far as video is concerned, and there's really just one thing that I want to touch on. And I'm going to flip over there really quick so that that was the wrong button, but that's okay. All right.
Oh, the porn button.
Porn button. Okay, so let's talk settings for a minute. This is a thing that will hang up most people that are new to OBS or new to streaming, and that is right here, the output. So this output tab right here in settings defines how your canvas, the layout that Dan was just talking about, how that gets turned into a stream and delivered to Twitch, to Facebook, to whatever. The settings that you make here can make or break your stream. You can have a laptop that's catching on fire and you're running at like 2 frames per second in blocky goodness, or you can have a silky smooth stream and everything's great. That all happens right here. So the first thing, you probably just want to leave it in simple output mode, which means it simplifies a bunch of the settings that are available to you. Second thing here is video bitrate. This is largely dependent on your stream and on your internet connection and your needs as a streamer. Like what are you doing? Are you streaming Call of Duty at 1080-60, or are you just talking to people and with a white background? Like, this all matters. One thing to remember is that the way that these, in this case, it's called video encoder, the way the encoders work is that they have new information for every pixel that changes. So for me, sitting here with this blue background, the vast majority of my screen never changes. And so the amount of encoding that anything has to do is very low. So for something like this, I don't need a very high bitrate, video bitrate, because I don't need to send that much data. Now, if I had a fancy animation back there because I, chroma keyed the blue out and I've got like crazy geometric shapes and all kinds of psychedelic stuff going on, I'm going to require a higher bitrate now because more of my pixels are changing per frame that I'm sending. So there's calculations that you can do for this stuff, but I'll just give you a quick and dirty. If you're doing a 720 stream, which is 1280 by 720 pixels, and you're doing it at 30 frames per second, you will absolutely not need any more than 2500 kbps right here. That will be more than enough. It'll look fantastic. Go with it. You could probably get down into like the 1500 and be perfectly fine. One thing to also remember, as you increase your bitrate, the accuracy of those pixels being changed goes up. It does. And so if you want to do like a 1080 stream, maybe you go to 3500. If you want to do 1080-60, you might need to push a little bit higher. But one thing to remember is even if your computer can handle it, and even if your internet can handle it, and Twitch is handling it just fine, just remember you're reducing the size of your potential audience. Because if you didn't get blessed with the, format type transcode that day on your stream, there might be people with crappy internet or a crappy computer who simply can't watch your stream. So maybe they want to watch it, but they can't because it's too technically demanding on their system. So they'll find somebody else to watch. So find a happy medium. A great way to check this is to do a local recording. Because when you do a local recording, it's encoding the video just like it would when you're streaming. The only missing element will be the internet portion of it. So 2500, good place to start. Next thing here is the encoder. This is super freaking important. It goes like this. Do you have an NVIDIA GPU? Or do you have an AMD GPU? Or do you have an Intel built-in thing? The best quality encoder that you can go for here is actually the software encoder, the software X264. It is also the most demanding because you're going to be using your computer for other things. Maybe that's running Tractor or Ableton, or maybe it's running a visualizer or chat or whatever it is. Your computer has stuff to do. So if you can offload it onto another piece of hardware like your GPU, do that by all means. So in my case, I'm using the hardware NV encoder because I have an NVIDIA card. Next thing, audio bitrate. 160, more than enough. Don't ever go higher than this. It's stupid. It's not worth it. And no, it's not 160 MP3. You're streaming in AAC. So this would be the equivalent to what, like 224 or something? MP3.
Yeah.
It's beyond the range of anybody giving a shit. So just 160. You're good.
Saul Wagner gives a shit, all right?
Yeah, well, that's a whole separate issue of compression that they use
as the Twitch thing, yeah,
Twitch or YouTube or whatever. So these other things, the enable advanced encoder sync, don't worry about that. Enable or enforce stream sort of whatever, don't worry about that. Encoder preset. This is super important. Even with a low bit rate, your encoder preset is going to define so much the quality of your stream, the color depth, the smoothness, how it actually looks like frame per frame. If you set this encoder preset to something like low latency performance or, just, fast or whatever they call it, yeah, your frame rate will be great. You'll be sitting at 30 frames per second all day long, and you'll also look like some degraded, .mov you had from 2003. Like just blocky, terrible shit.
Who was that a while ago? Green screen sessions, and she had like 6 frames per second, and it was awful.
So that's and that's different. That's if
it was like 6 per minute or something.
Yeah, if you go too high,
you're like, good thing she didn't call it high frame rate sessions.
Yeah, so here you do want to find a balance, and it's going to require you to do do a local recording, try a test stream, things like that. But if you have a dedicated like NVIDIA card or AMD card and you select the proper encoder, go with quality. Quality is the step down from kind of the maximum. Max quality can be pretty damn taxing on your system, but quality will give you a great balance between not being super stressful, but also giving you a fantastic looking image. And then it just comes down to your internet connection, and that's kind of it. So, yeah. So 2,500K to start. Work from there. Don't go over 3,500 unless you're doing like 1080-60. Choose the encoder for your system. If you don't have a GPU, select software X264. If you do have a GPU, select the one for your card. Audio bitrate, always 160 or lower. An encoder preset, start at quality, move it down to, higher performance from there if you have problems. That is all.
All right. Anyone who watches this show who's getting started should literally, that may be one of the most important sections, I think.
Bridgewater, that was a great one too. Run a speed test and find out what your upload bit rate is. And yeah, because a lot of times, it's like, oh, I've got gigabit down. It's like, cool, you have like 8 up. And that's going to matter, so that 2,500 kbps per second, that's, that 2.5, like that's going to require a certain amount. Now, maybe Well, I've got a 10 megabits up. I'm fine. Well, wait a minute. How many people do you have in your house? Who else is streaming Netflix right now or doing all these things? Well, that's download co. It doesn't matter. No, it does, because when you're watching something or you're surfing the web or you're responding to a post on Facebook, it's not a one-directional conversation. You are clicking on an element, it is sending information to you, you're sending information back to it. There's transfer and there's overhead, and all those things start to add up, and they can start eating into your your budget for how much stuff you can put up at any given time. And then on top of that, ISPs are super shitty. If you live in the United States and, Comcast is telling you, oh, you get 15 megabits up, you're going to just count on 7. Take whatever that number is, cut it in half, and round down. Yeah, because that's what you're probably going to get. I mean, I had a connection in San Jose that was 25 megabits up. I struggled sometimes to push 3,500K per second. I'm like, guys, it's like not even a quarter. Like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, network congestion being what it is. I'm like, well, my bill being what it is, fix it. Buy more shit. But, yeah.
I recommend everyone move to Volo. My house has fiber to the curb. I get a gig up and down.
Yeah, right now I'm golden. I've got a gig down and 45 megabits up, which is hilariously asymmetrical, but you know what? It works. So
yep, more than enough.
Yep. Anyway, back to you.
All right, so Bridgewater, yeah, you really have some crappy up at 1 megabyte per second up.
Megabit.
Megabit.
Megabit. Sorry.
A megabyte would be 8 megabits.
You're right. And you're right. And you're right. Wambra, this show will be saved. It won't be saved here on Twitch. It'll only be on for another 2 weeks here on Twitch. But as you know, because I just saw your comments over there, this is also up on YouTube where it will be persistent and it will just be around. So if you go to the channel that you already know about and you search for Finding Your Voice, you will always find it. In addition, today we are restreaming over to the Gear-Splaining page on Facebook. And I'm also sending it I shared it to a couple groups and it's on my main page. So this one's out there and we'll probably spam this one around because we want to make sure that this one is a bit more of a resource for people than our normal just banter.
I would just like to point out that Juliet just proved my rule of thumb really quick. She is supposed to be getting 200 megabits up and down and currently getting about 50. So yeah, take whatever that number is, cut it in half, and round down.
Yeah.
If you're on Wi-Fi.
Oh God, don't stream on Wi-Fi. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't. If you can avoid it, don't do it. If you have to do it, okay. If you're at a live show or something, I get it. But like, if you're making it a regular thing, like, hey, I'm going to stream every Tuesday and Thursday, or I'm going to stream once a day, run a cable. Please. Please, for your sake, for your viewers' sake, just go buy a $3 Ethernet cable and run it to your computer. That is all.
I think that's it for OBS as well. We covered, let's just quickly re-summarize it. We covered the canvas, we covered cameras, composition of your shot, audio, technical specifics on how to get your video all set up, as well as we covered some basics about finding your voice. Is there anything else that we missed that we haven't thought about that we want to make sure we get down in this video for people? With regard to OBS, because there's other aspects of streaming that we're going to move on to in a moment. All good?
I'm trying to
I think that's a good introduction.
Yeah, I think you're good.
All right. Here's the next piece that we're going to talk about. Twitch, Facebook, Mixer, YouTube, and there are many others. There's, I guess if you're like, look, if you're watching this and it's like, well, how do I do a porn thing? I'm probably need to go figure out how they do it. But they're all Pornhub. Yes, if you're gonna stream to Pornhub, actually, so Restream. So quickly, I do a blast out to multiples. I use a service called Restream to be able to do that. And Restream allows you to, for free, do quite a bit, and you can pay a little bit, and you can buy a perpetual or yearly license for about $50, so it's not even that expensive. And that allows you to go to groups on Facebook, but it'll allow you to go simultaneously to all of the following: Facebook Live, Mixer, Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, LinkedIn. And by the way, if you're streaming to LinkedIn, make sure that you're doing like something that has to do with like corporate day job. Because if you're sending music stuff to LinkedIn, I hate you immediately. VK Live, which I don't know what that is. D Live, and I don't know what that is, but if you're going to talk about D Live around me, I'm just going to say it's Dequel Live, and he has his own channel. YouTube, Stream Now, which is a service that no one really uses. Daily Motion, Cow TV, Naver TV, Nemo TV, V Live, Good Game, Smashcast, Hooyah, Zenki TV,
Hooyah.
Billy, Africa TV, Mob Crush, Cyber Game TV, MLG, which is Major League Gaming, Do You, Live EDU. So this also allows you to restream. Some of these are specific for like a vertical. These are business-esque. Live EDU is for education ecosystem. Vaughn Live, I don't know who Vaughn is, but he's got his own channel on here. Instagib, I don't know what that is. Breakers TV, Vapors TV, which I think is, at least I hope it's
Jib.
Instajib. Is this like a GIF thing?
Jibs are more like, when you played first-person shooters back in the day and you killed the baddie and they like exploded into a bunch of guts?
Yeah.
Those are jibs.
Jibs, all right. Yeah. Giblets. Vapors TV, which in my mind, not knowing what it is just people streaming themselves vaping, which, I don't know, Cole, maybe there's a new market for you. Picardo TV, Akru.
Vape fetishists.
Yeah,
it's right. Take a draw of that vape pen.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about the Wisemac Renalo Gen 3. This is a little bit different from the Gen 2. It's got the same type of battery door, but they seem to have reinforced... Yeah, no.
Yeah, if you went on that channel, you'd definitely do a Gear-Splaining about... Well,
And I'll be taking a rip from my coil is currently at 0.2 ohms from a Geek Vape Zeus using a Twisted Clapton.
And now we're going to try it at 0.021. And now 0.023. Yeah. That's in my head, that's what that entire channel is. Picarto, Akru, FC2 Live, Steam. You can restream directly into Steam and Tela. And then if you pay for it, you can go to Facebook Live groups and public pages. You can set up custom RTMP. So that's for things that are not listed on here, but which still have a stream key. Wowza and Akamai. Akamai, I don't know.
Akamai is a content delivery network.
Oh,
so what you do is you send your information there, and then they broadcast. It's very much like Restream, in fact, but Restream for the big boys, like for, say, Amazon or for a Netflix.
Neat. So this allows you to go to multiple places at once. The way you go to any place is first in Streamlabs OBS or OBS. In settings, you need to drop in your stream key. And every single one of these services, you need to sign up and get an account. And then within settings, you will find the stream key for your account in order to be able to stream to it. That goes for YouTube. That goes for every single one of these. Then you bring it back into Streamlabs OBS and you drop it in there. Or you can send Streamlabs OBS to a persistent stream key on Restream. And then within Restream, you drop the service-specific stream key. That'll allow it to set itself up. And sometimes if you're just logged into both, it has custom dialogues and scripts built in that will allow it to you to bypass having to forget the stream key for yourself as long as you're signed in. Restream, when you say you want that service, will just see what you're logged into, ask you yes or no. If that's what you want, then it will get it for you as long as you authorize it to do so. What this does is it makes sure that you're authentically you and no one else is able to stream to your channel. Makes sense in a username password world that we live in. It doesn't. The security levels are much lower than other things. It's not. You don't have two-factor. There's no password. If someone had your stream key, they could just stream. but they don't have access to other things on your channel. So while they could just stream if they got access to your stream key, they wouldn't be able to go in, change settings, change your password, or other kinds of hacks. It is, however, a lower level of security, and it may be worth knowing that, especially if you're doing a business-based podcast onto LinkedIn. Or Juliet, if you did live EDU education ecosystem, you'd want to make sure that you definitely protected your stream key.
Yeah, there is a reason that when you open up settings and you go to your stream tab, the stream key is by default, kind of hidden. Like, just shows up as little dots and nothing more. And there's a little button there that says show stream key. And even when you go onto Twitch and you look up your own stream key in your own dashboard, by default, it is hidden.
And then finally, there is on Restream the ability to use a Restream bot, which will then collate all the chat from different ones. Warning, and this is something I fall into, if you have one service like Twitch, which does a lot, it will appear to people on other services like Mixer as if you were spamming the hell out of them, and they might not like it. One of the scrimps mentioned that you can't Restream as an affiliate. Yes, so let's talk about some service-specific things. We're gonna actually back up on that one. And we're going to start with Facebook. This one's for the DJs.
DJs.
The DJs.
DJs, listen up. If you're playing other people's music, which by definition of your trade, you are, be aware that certain services, such as YouTube, Facebook, and probably many others, don't put up with that shit. Nope. They have advanced algorithms that will hear your music and immediately tell you, you're done. You might get away with it once or twice, and then your content's going to start getting pulled down. And in the case of YouTube, you're going to start getting copyright strikes. So best bet is just not do it, or you can sometimes get away with it if you choose truly obscure music. But don't count on that. Even then,
if the record label clicked one button, it's in the database, it could get scanned.
Yeah, but you do have other services like Twitch, for example, where you can go and you can play, your latest club bangers, and they will get flagged, but they still allow it. What'll happen is that your video on demand, your VOD, basically the recording of your stream, will have little red areas in it where the volume has been muted completely to remove that content. And I think that that's a very fair exchange so that people coming to see you live get to hear all the music and all your performance. But then if people watch it later, we are staying aligned with all the copyright laws.
The way they really do that is they take kind of a very radio-esque approach. If you're on the radio, you're allowed to play other people's music. And that you pay ASCAP fees and all sorts of other licensing, and then it's kosher for you to do it. What you're not allowed to do is go back. It's not like having a CD. You can't go backwards. You gotta only do it one direction. You can't scrub or anything. If you go, what's that site that people upload to their DJ mixers a lot? Just the audio, not SoundCloud. Mixcloud does the same thing. Same exact principles at play. You can only go forwards. You can't go backwards. So by doing that, that's kind of the balance they strike. The law is not perfect. It's also different from place to place, but Twitch and Mixer as well have created at least an ecosystem that is totally acceptable. And the reason why it's really acceptable for your VOD to be muted is because, quite honestly, very few people are going to go back and listen to it. If you were doing prepared recorded music, people might listen to it again. That has more of a value. If you're doing a video on YouTube and you've spent some time editing it and you really thought about it, if on the other hand you're doing a live stream, the live component is so important that watching it not live is almost pointless. So if they're going to mute you after you're done playing, don't sweat it. That's just how it goes. And it's better than getting taken down midstream. If you're trying to stream to Facebook, so this is for everyone who watches this on Facebook, you should, if you're trying to watch on Facebook, just skip it. Don't do it. Don't DJ on Facebook. Just stay off of it. You're just gonna get pissed off and frustrated. You're just gonna quit doing it because you're gonna get angry at a service. And you shouldn't get angry at a service because you're new to it, but they've already set up exactly how they want this to happen. In addition, if you have European friends, they may stream to Facebook and get away with it, and that's gonna be really irritating. But the laws are different where they live.
Yeah. Also remember, even if you're not streaming music, if you're just, having a little fireside chat or whatever it is, and you happen to be streaming to YouTube or you happen to be streaming to Facebook, be cognizant of what's happening in the background. Oftentimes you might not even think of it, you're not trying to infringe or anything, but maybe you got some music on in the background and, some freaking Grimes or something comes on. You're screwed. Like, that's it. That video is going to be watchable maybe live, and you might get kicked off live. You never know. But you definitely are going to have some problems when that thing gets recorded and posted, because it'll catch it. Like, their algorithms are really good. Those computers give 0 Fs. They will just go, yep, that's Grimes. Gotcha. You're done.
They may also catch you for false positives, and while it may feel good to fight the man, unless you're making money, you don't need to actually get emotionally invested in it. Happened to me last year off of an improvised live jam. I got a YouTube copyright strike, and it was an improvised live jam. Just to see what would happen, I fought it, and I did win. But that might not be the outcome for you, because they literally hold all the cards, the person who decides to enforce the strike, and it can get expensive to challenge it unless they want to immediately fold. Just know that unless it's really something important, just move the fuck on. Sorry, X, what?
No, it's okay. No, you're good.
So that is the basics of the platforms. The platforms are also different in their behavior for other things. I will explain. On Facebook, you're going to get a lot of views. You're going to get more views on Facebook quicker than anywhere else, because Facebook is on everyone's phone and everyone checks it millions of times a day. There are going to be 2-second views and they might not even hear the audio. When you go into your data panel later, you can see what actually is going on. Womber says, anyone see the channel getting 2 Chemical Brothers copyright claims? Yeah, that was Starsky Car's channel. Yeah, he made a video about it. It was pretty funny. It wasn't actually the Chemical Brothers that did it. It was the right holders and then over-aggressive algorithm. It was BS, but again, it wasn't actually the Chemical Brothers. It was just against their thing. It's not like the Chemical Brothers were like,
no, I would like to take umbrage with that, actually. So I don't give a fuck about these rights holders. If the rights holders of Chemical Brothers come after me for playing a single note, the Chemical Brothers came after me for playing a single note. Get your shit together, find out who owns your tracks, find out who's publishing your shit, and get them under control, because your fans will stop being fans. And I'm 100% serious about that, like deadly serious. That really, really pisses me off. That people will do, oh, it's some legal entity that does it. No, fuck you. Get your house in order. Like, go talk to your publisher. Go talk to whatever it is, DistroKid. I don't give a shit. Figure it out, because you're pissing off your fans. You're pissing on your fans. And in some cases, you're actually stealing their livelihood. So, sorry, I don't feel bad for you.
Starsky's video did a really good job of explaining what happened, how it happened, why it happened, as well as raising awareness. I think it's probably one of his most watched videos in the last couple of months. It was really popular. It went around quite a few different channels, forums, and groups. A lot of people saw it. I wouldn't be surprised if Chemical Brothers became aware of it. I mean, unless they just are totally oblivious to like the synth community, and I don't think that's the case. So I think that was really the right reaction, the way he did it, because he demonstrated what the issue was, how simplistic what he did was. Playing one note with a filter sweep showed how and why, and how it's an over-aggressive algorithm. He was also respectful about it and said, hey, this is a problem, guys. And I think he had a decent chance of raising awareness, and we need a lot of that. When that takedown request goes on and it's bogus, should not allow yourself to emotionally get too pissed off because it's an algorithm, but you should probably, like, if you can respond the way he did, I think that's the perfect way to do it, because you raise awareness. And I think, yeah, you got me convinced. The way that it went down for Chemical Brothers, in the community most likely to listen to Chemical Brothers, they looked bad last week.
No, that's the thing. I can blame old school bands, because the thing is that once that comes into the public sphere, that, hey, this thing got claimed on your behalf. That's the key words here, on your behalf. You, as the artist, should be offended. You should say, oh man, that's terrible. I'm going to put myself in that person's shoes. I'm an up-and-coming person. I'm doing something, and I'm stealing their money. I'm impacting their livelihood and their ability to grow. Me, somebody who's already successful, who's already been treated awesome in this, in this industry, I got to go to bat. Whether that's sending a message, send a tweet. Holy shit, that's messed up, man. Let me look into it for you. Maybe there's nothing you can do. Update your fans. Let them know, like, hey, I looked into this, and the legal bastards that own my rights, this is what they told me. Post the email, post the exchange, whatever it is. Like, communicate with your fans. I think that's super important. If you're silent and, I don't know, is just some fucking rights holder, fuck you. You just lost a fan. Probably a lot of them, because that's, you show me that you don't give it, you accept that paradigm. You're cool with it. Passively. You're just like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I guess there's nothing we can do. I made music and then sold it to some guy and now he can go screw everybody. Well, then I don't have any respect for you.
So that's mostly a problem up on YouTube. On Facebook, what'll happen is you just get taken down. On YouTube, it can affect monetization. And it gets way more legally dicey up on YouTube. There was a question a while back on if you are an affiliate, can you restream to multiple different places? And I will answer that quite honestly, and I hope no one from Twitch is watching. No, you're not supposed to. And fuck yeah, come get me, Sheriff. We doggy. I'd do it anyway.
Yeah, I would say that with the general treatment of affiliates on Twitch, just do it.
I'd drop affiliate before I.
Yeah,
before
it's
I stop
against all
restreaming
the
other
rules,
places.
but it's not like you're going to be raking in tons of cash anyway. It doesn't matter. Just go do it. You're going to get a lot more exposure. And honestly, Twitch isn't going to bat for you. Like, they're making it incredibly hard for people to discover your streams. Anytime there's new features that bring together communities and make it easier to build an audience, they give those to the partners. The people that are already successful and have already built communities, they get more and more community tools. They get video transcoding. They get longer VOD clip holding. They get all these features, while the affiliates get nothing. Oh, and also you can't stream anywhere else. I'm sorry, you don't get Tweet. You don't get a monopoly on my broadcast for giving me basically nothing. Oh, we give you a share. You take more than 50% of everything that I earn on the platform, and you give us nothing in return. That's not an exchange that I'm cool with. Now, I know that I tacitly agreed to it when I clicked on the little affiliate button, but you know what? Come at me, bro. Like, I'll just drop affiliate. That's cool.
Yeah, if they ever wanted to screw with me, I would just drop affiliate. I have a job. It's not streaming. That said, I don't think they're paying enough attention. If they were, I think they would probably fix that. It's clearly a giant hole, but they're just not paying enough attention, so you can also get away with it. No one has ever been zinged for that.
I think they
the
know
thing
better.
you will get zinged for on Twitch, and the only thing I've seen people get zinged for, aside from, let's see, like showing a nipple if you're a woman, that's like a cardinal sin. You should really never do that on Twitch. Copyrighted material, you do get the video on demand thing, and the algorithm does that. And then if you happen to be doing copyrighted material of a brand new song that is heavily promoted and very lucrative, occasionally they come through, but only really to larger streamers, and they'll smack them down with temporary bans. And they're trying to send a message to avoid that song.
Yeah.
Those are the only things I've ever seen, and usually they go back on it because it has a freezing effect on the people who are actually putting the content here up on Twitch, and that is the good part about Twitch. So now we're going to get to the good part about Twitch. So I mentioned earlier that Facebook, you're going to get a bunch of 1-second views. That's true. You are going to get some people who sit around and watch as well, but a lot less because so many people consume Facebook from their phone. On YouTube and Twitch, you will have people who sit down and actually just watch stuff. Caveat, on YouTube, it's already established. You cannot today start a YouTube channel and become a YouTuber very well. You needed to do it 3 years ago. Maybe 2 years ago, there was still a shot.
Before the new rules, yeah. It was about 3 or 4 years ago when they switched it to, okay, we've raised the bar to kind of an incredibly high standard. So if you do incredibly high quality work and you can gain a following with, incredible momentum, then yes, you can rise through the ranks. If not, good luck, because we're not allowing you to do any revenue sharing or ads until you are already successful, which means that you've still definitely got a day job, regardless of how much time you put into it. You're just basically burning money to get to maybe a location in the future. So I'm not saying don't do it, but just saying that, yeah, it was substantially easier. It was like 3 years ago.
On YouTube, also, there are very few methods for live streams to develop followings unless you are a channel that creates prepared content and you have people who are already subscribed to your channel. So you create prepared content and people following it passively. For example, we have a video that I did like 3 years ago on Korg Volca Kick. It was like one of the only videos we did that was prepared. Co also did one on the Serato DJ 808. Those get a lot of clicks, but we don't really like doing that. That's not really our thing. We like making music and being live. Those get tons of clicks. If we just did tons of those, I think that one of them is up to like 20,000 views, right? We could do just a bunch of those, build the channel that way. And then when we do these live streams on YouTube, we'd have more of an audience. That's really not what we do. We like to stream. We like to do the show. That's really our bread and butter, is being live. It's actually generating the content in a live mode with people. That's really what we live for and who we are. In that case, we're not finding anyone over on YouTube. No one. I think Wambra, you are the only person who comes and watches. There are a few other people over on YouTube who come watch my streams, but they are few and far between.
I wanted to really quick address something that Wambra asked about a VU meter while you're streaming. So sort of. While I said that I didn't use a VU meter, which was true, what I did do, if you ever watch my stream, I had a touchscreen, a 22-inch touchscreen that was right above my deck. So it was pointed right at my face, and I had the elements for the audio sources expanded out quite a bit because I didn't need to really see anything else. It was on autopilot. I have a stream deck. Like I don't really need to touch much on the screen. But those audio elements, I'd make sure that it was always the master out that was in focus, especially like the music from the decks. And I knew exactly where that mark was. I knew that I had to be basically just starting to touch the red. And when I was starting to touch the red, that was a good unity. And so as I was playing, I would make sure that if I saw red, if it was more than like 2 pixels of red, I got to bring it back a little bit. And if I wasn't hitting the red, then I got to bring it up a little bit. So I was using it very much like a VU meter. I think that a larger, higher resolution VU meter is absolutely a great idea. Somewhere where you can see it easily, where you don't have to take your eyes away from what you're doing, whether that's talking to your audience or performing on hardware, whatever it is. Sorry about that.
No worries. So I'm looking over at YouTube, our early activity when we're doing prepared videos. A lot of it comes down to how you name it as well, sort of an SEO thing. So Korg Volca Kick, I think if you make Volca videos, you can grow your channel like crazy because people buy them. It's inexpensive. I think Behringer stuff always, if you name Behringer in the name of the video and then the name of the Behringer, Novation circuit stuff does very well. Even still, some Moog stuff does very well. So by dropping the name into it, and then if you also put a title onto it, so people can see when they see the thumbnail exactly what's going on. Those two things will help drive those videos. Ain't no one got time for that shit though. Well, though some people love doing it, and if that's what you love doing, then you got time for it. We love to actually spend 2 hours actually generating the content and being with people and making music. If I was just all about building a YouTube channel, it would all be Matriarch and Impact for 3 minutes with a giant thumbnail.
Yeah, I'll make a comment really quick about kind of the prepared video versus streaming. I think, I 100% do prefer streaming, and this might sound wrong, but this is a hard thing to explain because the quick and easy answer is it's just easier, but that's not entirely true. So to do a stream that has the same kind of impact and same kind of quality level as one of those prepared videos, which yes, there's going to be a gap no matter what, but to get it as close as possible so it looks professional and it's engaging and it's exciting and there's, a lot of interest and things going on, but without overdoing it, making sure the content's good. That takes a lot of preparation, but then once you've kind of got it, then it just takes, kind of a little bit of updating every once in a while and making sure that it's consistent. And then you can focus on your performance, whatever that is, versus the prepared videos where I don't know how many people out there edit video, but holy mother of God. Like, if you make tracks in your DAW, it's very similar. There's just an endless amount of work. Yeah, it's so much effort. Like to put up, a 10-minute video on YouTube that's actually of decent quality and has a good flow and has the information moving at the right pace and it isn't annoying and the audio levels are good and it stays exciting but it doesn't sound like jump cuts like I'm 12. Like, 10-minute video is easily 4, 5, 6 hours if you're doing good. Like it's a huge time investment.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, and I guess it comes down to what you do. If you are a musician and you make music, that is the thing that you do. If you're making prepared videos to a degree, the content of your prepared videos is your subject matter expertise, but what you do is you edit videos. How you spend your time, it's what you want to spend your time doing.
Yeah.
I want to spend time not writing scripts. I don't want to spend time editing video. I'm not dissing on any of those things at all. I want everyone to be very clear on that.
This is a universal thank you to all those people who do. To Bo and to Lou Pop and to Jeremy at Red Means Recording and everybody else who makes freaking awesome videos. Thank you. I know how much work that is, and your stuff looks and sounds awesome and is interesting to watch.
I like to make music or talk to people. Those are the two things that I actually enjoy doing with this. That's it. I don't want to edit video almost at all unless I have to. And if you see any of my edited videos, you know that I'm clearly trying to stop doing it while I'm doing it. Like I just hate editing. Like, fuck, I got to get this thing edited. Because the point for me is to get to the most basic version of editing, some fades, some edits, some cuts. And it really leaves a lot of quality to be desired because it's not something I enjoy doing. I like working in a DAW. I like doing Ableton. I like playing around in Reason and making sounds. I'm not a visual person. That's just how it goes.
I do like the video editing and creation process. I think it's really fun. I've got a lot of good tools to do that, but it's just the time investment is so heavy for the return that you do. To create that 5 or 10 minute video, you really are pouring in like a work day. And I'm at a point in my life.
I'd rather.
Sorry,
no, go ahead.
Go ahead. As I say, I'd rather make music than work on video editing. That's where I'm at. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. 100%.
I understand. I know how that stuff works, but I just don't,
Yeah. And I even like it, but I like my time and I like, sitting in the DAW or playing with hardware more. So, and unfortunately we have to make choices.
All right, so that's kind of a very roundabout way of explaining the difference between YouTube and here. So while there are live streams that happen on YouTube, almost every single one of them is actually attached to a channel that is famous for doing prepared talks. So if you think about Sonic State, yeah, we all love the Sonic State Weekly Show. But you know why we know about Sonic State's Weekly Show is because they have amazing review and tutorial videos of products that they post on a regular basis. They've been doing it for years. So they were also able to establish themselves in the early days of YouTube. Those things make a difference. Super high quality, prepared content drives an audience and allows them to do that. And there are no ways to find live streams on YouTube that while they're going.
Yeah, and
it just doesn't happen.
Nick Bat always with the one feature that a product doesn't have in every review or every interview when they have like the vendor in, like they have Electron in or like Jink from Electron or they have somebody from Roland come in to like demo their new product. And I love his uncanny ability to be like, right, so does it have this feature? And they're like, no. And he goes, oh, okay, maybe in a firmware update then. And they're like, yeah.
Or, oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
There's no wooden end cheeks.
Yeah.
Yep. Then they go home with their tail between their legs. No, we're not going to sell any model cycles.
Yeah, totally.
And so that we go to also to YouTube because there's a passive small amount of audience, and I'm kind of active up there, and some other people are, and they kind of know us, and it helps us. But here on Twitch, this is why I'm talking about Twitch a lot, and I try to push people towards Twitch. Right now we have 25 people.
Which, by the
We have
way, is
community.
against the YouTube TOS.
Oh, really? You can't multi-stream to Twitch and YouTube
no,
at the same time?
you can multi-stream, but you cannot try to lure your audience to come to a different platform.
Oh, ho, ho, Solo. Come get me, Sheriff.
Fuda.
Oh, Buddha, wonky bonto, chuba.
I love that we just decided we're going to speak Huttese for the rest of the show. I'm fine with this.
You can actually keep it going, too. That's Dada Voodoo. So the Twitch, the reason why I push Twitch a lot and I try to get people onto Twitch, and I'm not actually trying to get them on from YouTube. I'm just trying to meet people on YouTube, and if I can establish there and help.
That's right, Susan.
Gear-Splaining going more,
we're not luring people over to Twitch.
Yes, we're not doing that, even though it sometimes does sort of happen, especially with the. Why don't they just know that I'm doing the chat bot? I mean, they could just look at that, but whatever. So Twitch has this community. It has a community of people. It's growing. It's real. It's better for edge content by the actual creator, because a lot of what you get on YouTube looks a lot more like a broadcast channel that has a lot of money put into it. There are still plenty of people making creative and quality content, but everything on Twitch is done by like one person with a broadcast for almost everything. You know, there's some Major League Gaming things that aren't that way, but almost every single thing you're getting on Twitch is like us. It's people who have day jobs for the most part, or even if they do go partner and they quit their job, there's still a very mom and pop content, edge, user generated world and scene, and that's not what's going on YouTube. On YouTube, you have other people who can't even get any traction or get minimal traction, or you have people who have, you know, large production value, and you even have multi-million-dollar productions that land exclusively there. It's a different world, and so that's why being here allows you to connect with people, and I think it's a very important spot for that. Mixer is interesting to me. I gotta say, Mixer is interesting to me for a few reasons, and the number one reason is because since I started streaming onto Mixer, every single time I do a restream on the Mixer with music, some people do jump in, and more it's now happening. It had a big jump when Ninja went there, and here's what I learned. I set up my account. I used my old Microsoft account. Everybody I was friends with on Xbox Live from like the last 15 years. I sold my Xbox a couple years ago, but my account still persisted. I did just rebuy it. That we have something to do during the apocalypse with some friends. But when I go on, they get a notification, apparently. So sometimes the people I game with then can just watch me while they're or choose to listen to me while I'm gaming. And I talked to a couple of them. They do that. That's an interesting integration that I did not even realize was happening. There's some people who go on there and they look for music to play while they're actually gaming. These are interesting ways of going about it. And it's very easy via Restream to also go up onto Mixer. And Mixer has a bit more of a primitive interface, but it's not bad. And there's some novel ideas at play. The point system that you see currently in Twitch, right now, if you make comments or something, I don't think we have it even set up terribly good, but we do have some things set up, a random sub emote, certain things like that, and you get points. Well, that's actually very well developed over on Mixer. It's kind of like watching or playing a role-playing game to a degree. Mixer, there's no reason not to also be streaming there, is what I'm saying. If it's going to keep growing, then you may as well already be there. That way it can start to sort of passively pick up. Thank you for the 10 bits, Doug Carmichael. So that's why sometimes you'll see when I'm doing my streams on Saturday, there's someone from Mixer who jumps in. That's what's up. Let's see, what do we got from chat right now? For affiliates, all Twitch lats the archiving for affiliates. Yep, that's true.
Yeah, Wambro was saying basically just said all Twitch lacks is the archiving. But the archiving does exist, just not for you affiliate plebs. Make sure that you give us all your streams. All your stream art belong to us. Doug, thank you for the cheer. You're saying if you have a Mac, MIMO Live can stream to multiple services right from your Mac. Yeah, but that's the thing is, so that might be worth discussing, is what is it that Restream is actually doing? Because that, from a technical perspective, is actually very important. So, you encode your video, and that might be a tall order, like ampersand, for example, right? You have your encoder settings set, and it was clobbering your system, and hopefully you get that sorted out. I don't know if that happened yet, but could you imagine using MIMO Live, and you're going to go ahead and encode, and then you're going to re-encode for a different platform, and encode for a different platform, and encode for a different platform, and then send all those out over your internet connection? No. Send one stream of the best quality that you can to Restream, and let Restream handle it. They're doing that on their servers, oftentimes for free. Take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
They've got great internet. They've got great connections. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I just started using Restream actually just the other day, and it's stupid easy to set up. And it's, I only have it going to YouTube right now, but
yeah,
for deals.
And it gives you one location where you only need to plug in your stream keys basically one time. Then you have a single stream key. You send all of your business over there, and they handle it. They handle sending it out everywhere else. And ampersand, that is super good to hear. I'm glad it's better.
So if you buy directly through Restream, really so the reason why you'd want to is so you could get, for example, access to RTMP, or if you wanted to go directly to a Facebook group or a Facebook page, like an artist page.
Right.
Those are decent reasons to want to. That's almost worth it. It's $40 a year if you go to Dealify right now, and every now and then they show up on other things that allow you to do it for like $50 for a lifetime license. I think. Let's see. AppSumo had one. Okay, AppSumo currently has it. $50, you get a lifetime Restream license. Mine is up. My annual one is up in August, and I'm gonna just pay the $50 to get that one. They always have deals out there, and it allows you to utilize it, and it's a worthy service. They are paying for a lot of bandwidth for you, so it's also one of those services that's worth giving your money to. You can join their Discord. It is one of the most worthless Discords I've ever joined. I don't know why the fuck they even have a Discord. Like, does anybody hanging? Like, I don't know why. Like, I left eventually because they started like adding people asking like, "Hey, do you generate content?" It's like, oh, fuck, I don't really need to hear from you at all. You service, I give you money, now go away, do the thing. But
real quick, your comment about paying for bandwidth. Just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. So at least in the United States, our two biggest providers, AT&T and Xfinity, aka Comcast, due to the pandemic and everybody, having to be shoved away in their homes and distancing and working from home, they said, you know what? We're good, guys. We're just going to lift the bandwidth caps. You guys can use all the data that you need to use. God bless. And they just demonstrated, because I don't know about you, but my internet has been like it's been every day, which is fine, with the increased load on the network that they said they couldn't handle, and there's only so much to go around.
Yep.
And yeah, eat it, guys. Your
yeah,
network's
totally
fine.
full of shit.
Yeah, and
But
so
their sunny wand that they waved was already there. They didn't do anybody a favor. They just stopped trying to capitalize off of people.
Yep. So yeah, bandwidth is not a resource that is like water. It's all about the pipe. Yes, if you try to push too much water through the pipe and the pipe's not big enough, you can't do it. It just doesn't handle any more water.
Yep.
It's not like the bandwidth is the actual water and we ran out for this month. Like, no, that's not how bandwidth works.
All right, I'm not sure we got much more else to cover on how to get your voice out there. Any straggler items there?
Cameras and lighting. So
cameras and lighting.
I cannot emphasize enough about lighting. Let me go ahead and turn off my I've got 3 lights on right now, and so I'm going to turn off just one of them. Boom. One thing to know about webcams, in particular, is that the lower the light, the harder time the sensor has picking up information, because all it's doing is basically when light hits the sensor, it's turning that into data. And if there's a lack of light, it kind of gets a little confused and starts putting up fuzz, like nasty fuzz. In fact, if I turned off the rest of these lights, you would notice
Like
just
me.
kind of this, it would get grainy and low frame rate and all that. So just from a performance standpoint, performance of your computer and of the cameras, you absolutely want to make sure that you cover lighting. Lighting doesn't have to be expensive. Just make sure that there's enough of it. In my case, I screwed up a little bit here. I didn't put a lot of work into it. And this blue screen is probably about 1.5 feet behind me. And I have lights way up in the corner there, so I didn't quite balance them correctly, so you see a shadow. I could absolutely get rid of that shadow with just a little bit of adjustment. Do that. And then make sure that, you're not fighting against light. So many times you're going to be fighting to get that good camera shot just because you don't have enough light or you have too much light. So spend a little bit of time, get it balanced properly. It's going to make your colors show up better. It's going to make your cameras run at the proper frame rate and not struggle. And your viewers are going to appreciate it. And you're going to have a load off because you're not like, God, I look like shit. I don't know. Like, don't do that. And especially if you're doing a low light shot, I know a lot of DJs and a lot of music performers, we do like to perform in low light sometimes because it sets a mood. And so when you need to do something like that, proper lighting is super important. Even lighting, making sure that the camera can pick up those elements that it needs to, and that everything else, is lit enough so that it's not interfering with the camera's ability to make an image.
Absolutely. Also, I mean, the thing is, especially if you're doing like music gear and everything like that, you're going to have a lot of issues just with the lights coming off of that gear.
Oh yeah.
And like it'll 99% of the time it'll look like complete garbage. But the good news is if you look at everybody's video, including like the big YouTube guys, the lights coming off of that gear looks like garbage to them too. So it's like don't worry too much about that because that's going to be a problem no matter what. So get a good lighting on the device itself. Don't over glare it so you can't see anything anyway. That kind of thing. It's not a difficult process. 45-degree angles are your friend.
Don't do this.
Wow.
This bad.
Yeah.
Because now I just have a white face and you can't see any features properly and everything looks blown out and terrible.
Jaundice. You look like you got like liver enzyme issues right now.
Yeah. So now you take it down to a reasonable level and now you don't see shiny spots. You don't see tons of shadows, but you do see depth and you see the proper color coming through. I don't look scary and well, I might look scary, but you don't, it's
you can't
easy.
stop that.
Yeah. Can't stop that.
This is stuff that this is where I'm at. I'm still working on this stuff. Lighting is still difficult for me.
Rolling lines in front of the camera real quick. So Doug, thank you for the cheer. Says, I've seen Electron session videos where the Electron display has rolling lines from the camera, especially the Mark II and the Digi units. What could cause that? Well, let me tell you. When you plug something into an outlet on the wall for your alternating current power, alternating current, as the name implies, is alternating. So it's moving its phase up and down and up and down and up and down at a specific frequency. In the United States and North America, that frequency is about 60 hertz, so 60 cycles per second. In Europe, it's 50 hertz. Well, what do most streamers set up their streams at and their cameras at? Usually like 720 30, 1080 30, 30 frames per second. That's 30 cycles per second. Just happens to be frames. So 30 into 50, and you have a mismatch. It's not a multiple. If you do 30, or like 30 divided by 50, you don't come out with this nice round multiple like you do in the United States. In the United States, take 30 into 60, you're good. Or perhaps you're recording at a theatrical frame rate, like 23.97 or something. If that's happening, if you're doing that, if you're doing 24 frames per second and you're going to record a 60 frame per second or, a 60 cycle per second screen, it's refreshing at 60 per second. Now you have a mismatch. So of course, in between those frames,
you're gonna have a remainder.
You're going to have a remainder and you're going to see where the screen is actually redrawing the pixels for just a split second, which appears as a line that'll sequentially kind of probe down across the screen. So things you can do to correct for that. If you have a Logitech webcam, a lot of them in their configuration software will have a thing for AC line correction, where it tries to interpolate and get rid of that. If you're using a real
Whoa,
camera,
Wambra.
yeah,
Thank you.
Wambra, thank you. If you're using a a more expensive camera where you can actually adjust the frame rate, do so. Play around and see what has the lowest impact. Usually, the closer you can get to an even multiple, so of 60 hertz, maybe 30 frames per second, that's perfect. If you're at 50 hertz, maybe 25 frames per second, that's perfect. Yeah, you lose 5 frames per second, but you gain stability so you can see that screen, and it's perfect. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wambro again for the bits. By the way, so for everyone
50 times.
on the Gears,
Thank you for 50 times.
thank you. 50. So when we get bits onto this channel, there's an expense. It's the Whereby software that Co subscribes to, so we can do the teleconferencing piece. Obviously, we all have we buy tons of stuff for our streams, but on here, that's what that goes to fund. So the occasional, very rare disbursement that we get from Twitch on here goes to offset the expense of the software that we pay for on a monthly basis to
Wambra,
do this.
This month's for you, because you just took care of this month.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. Thank you. And
we used Zoom. Wambra's Whereby is better.
Yeah, so Zoom it's good. It's competent software. It had a little bit of bugginess with multiple audio and video sources. So I think 11 video sources connected at all times, and I've got 30 audio sources, and it just didn't handle that well. Yeah, it would get super laggy when I started it up. And it just wasn't very customizable. I couldn't reposition windows. Or speaker windows. Like, for example, if I want to take a look at Dan really quick and give him focus, I can do that in this very easily, and it just resizes and everything works great. Versus, Zoom, where it was whatever they gave you, and it worked fine. There, as a conferencing software, it was pretty damn good. This one is cheaper and just lighter and works better. And when I fire it up, it doesn't have a problem with the fact that I have 30 audio devices. It just goes right, let's go, pick one.
And by the way,
to download shit to run it.
Yeah, it just runs in a browser.
It's all
It's all in a browser.
The audio for people who are not you, so me and Ix in this case, is actually better. So if you play a source for us on Zoom, it sounded kind of like Duke, honestly. Whereas now it sounds pretty good. We're getting that audio back.
That's
much
fascinating
better.
that their codec was that bad. Huh.
Oh, it was awful. I mean, we knew you were producing the show and working pretty hard. So I think a lot of us, what we'd do is when we'd play something, we would mute it in Zoom, and then we'd turn the volume up on Twitch so we could hear it.
On Twitch, yeah. Yep.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I had no idea. But good riddance then, because they were more expensive and didn't do as much. So.
Yep. So there it is. Whereby.
Yeah,
Doug, I don't think that they do, according to this conversation that we just had. I think the proof's in the pudding.
And we paid.
Dan listened to this once a week for months and months and months on Zoom and says that it was Duke and says that this cheaper web-based app is way better. So
much better sounding for the people within it.
Oh, are you saying I had to pay them $100 a month and that would give me a decent codec that we had in Ventrilo back in 2002?
Fuckers.
Because if so, that's still shitty. And Whereby is $10 a month, and it sounds great. So,
yeah.
So Wambra, Twitch, when you buy a bit, so if you buy what's the conversion? You buy 100 bits for $1.20 or $1.40. I forget what it is.
Between 20. It's basically between 25%. And I think you can go down to 15% is Twitch's cut when you purchase it. But when you give it to a streamer, we get 100% of the bits. Versus a subscription, if you pay $5 a month for a subscription, the streamer gets $2.50. Unless you're a partner, then you get more. That cut, I think, is negotiated.
Bits are better than subs, except subs create more community engagement. So I think that while bits are more valuable as far as the money they give back, subs, like if you ever go to Tatchet, Go will buy people subs, and it makes people feel really cool, and they go to the other streams and they see Tatchet and they go back to her stream because they have Tatchet's emoticons, and that really helps to generate what really matters at the levels that we're playing at, which is user engagement and audience levels.
Yeah, I mean, the sub thing gives you a couple of things. One, you do have access to at least the contact information for all the people who sub to you. So if you wanted to send out like an email blast, say like, hey guys, I'm going to run this stream, come check me out, you can do that. Or if you just want to check in. Also, you can run like, drawings and things like that. But it also enables, the more subs that you have, enables you to do all kinds of things on your channel. So for example, the little VIP tags that you get in some streamers' channels, the number of VIPs that they're allowed to give out is predicated on how many subs they have. So they can actually be in scenarios where, like if their subs are down that month, they might not be able to give out the VIPs. It's not that they don't like you, it's just that they literally can't give any more out, even if you're, a regular. But as that threshold increases, there's all kinds of little perks like that, little tools that come with subs.
It's an okay system. I don't actually have that much of a problem with it myself. It's not hugely lucrative, but it is kind of fun. I think I made $500 last year, and that's most of a DFAM, right? So
honestly, I wish we could set our sub cost. I think that would be a huge benefit. I would love, when I was streaming, I would have loved to have like $1 a month sub cost. Yeah, I'd get 50 cents. Cool. Like just so that we could have that higher level of engagement and that the bar wouldn't be as high.
You can get more subs in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what else? There is some music news and music gear news, and I know this was a focused conversation, but there is a few things to cover. So if we're done on streaming, I kind of want to move on because I think the horse is dead, Jim.
Can I get mine done really quick?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so go ahead.
I think X was saying something.
No.
Maybe he's not anymore.
So Scott, Denise, and I were talking recently about sequencers, specifically software sequencers. So things that augment your DAW's ability to sequence. So for MIDI instruments like synths and drums or sample sources, whatever it is, just interesting sequencers. So one of them that I recently used was Phrasebox, which is very still beta-y. A little crashy sometimes, but it's cool. It's basically like a kind of a modern, updated Cthulhu, like an ARP engine, but it has a few extra cool features. One of them that I did not pick up, but I thought was interesting, was Zenith by Audiair. So this is basically the sequencing engine from their Zone synthesizer, but it's just the sequencer and modulation and nothing else. And what makes it really interesting is down here, these sequencer lanes. You can see it says drop parameter to create a lane. So you can take like, this fader or this knob or this LFO or whatever it is and drop it onto the lane and then create a 32-step sequence for how that particular control responds. And then you can map that control to whatever in whatever synth. It's really cool. It's got, a scaler, it's got a chord generator, it's got a bunch of cool presets. And then, it's got an envelope. It's got, actually it looks like a 4, and then 4 LFOs. It's pretty awesome. Neat thing. I don't think it was terribly expensive. Let's see what they're asking for.
What was the price on that?
$80.
That's not bad.
Not bad, but a little on the pricier side for sure for a sequencer. And then the one that Scott was looking at, this was interesting. Let me see if I can just find it this way. Yeah, from a company, highplugins.com. Loading. Jeebus. So this appears to be a collection of sequencers of different styles. And their website is really awful. But it's got a bunch of different kinds.
Awful website.
Yeah, you've got some that are like more grid grid style, kind of synthy style, matrix style. They've got some that are, a bunch of faders, or there's one in there that's kind of more the Euclidean or rotary. It's kind of cool, and I think they're asking like $55 for it. Yeah, 55. So that one looked really interesting. And then
if they can use some of that money to get a better website.
Yeah, no kidding. And then there is of course
Seriously.
Cthulhu, which is the old school X for Records one. That thing really could use an update because boy is it kind of buggy, but it's cool. It's fun. That one's really truly an ARP engine, whereas something like Phrasebox was a little bit more interesting.
Also, soon Cthulhu will rise from the seas and end all of our from his slumber and end all of our petty arguing over which of the four horsemen gets to destroy humanity.
So really quick with Phrasebox,
we can wish.
It's interesting
the
because
old gods.
So instead of just taking direct input where you tell it what kind of chords to play or you tell it what notes you want to play, instead you plug those into your piano roll on your synth like you normally would, or I think on its timeline.
Mm-hmm.
You plug in whatever notes you want. And so what we normally do is just stick like a giant like augmented seventh chord or some ridiculousness on there with the notes that you want wherever you want them. And then in here, you can see kind of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the different notes in your chord. And so then you can trigger them in whatever way you want, but you can set per trigger velocity, transposition, octave switching, chance for it to even hit, and then a bunch of other parameters. And it has two kind of sides to it. One side is the playback side, which is really designed for live, for tinkering and changing settings or shifting the kind of your fixed notes or randomness, or the key or scale, anything. And then you can just build out phrases, and you can have, I think it's 12. And then the actual MIDI input, like a keyboard input, if you wanted to put that into the piano roll, can be used to control all the functions. So that over time, if you wanted to say like, transpose everything down an octave, that's just a D0 away. So it's pretty cool. And then it's got a bunch of random generation stuff as well.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
It's neat.
Sequencers seem to be the theme of the week. And I think you got a personal stake in another one, right?
Oh, yeah.
7 minutes. Cover the big one. There's
Their
actual
website
big
is
gear
so
music this week.
broken.
Maybe they have the same exact guy designing their website as who was that?
Yeah, the high plugins.
Yeah, high plugins.
So the tracker. This thing looks like nerd heaven.
Dun dun dun.
Spreadsheet
Tracking
music.
his back, baby.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out the loop hop video on this thing, do so. It's pretty cool. It's a sample
insane.
player and a wavetable synth and a granular synth, and then also a live performance tool, but all centered around the concept of an old school Amiga tracker for, all of your sequencing and everything. And really, I think the clincher with this guy is the live performance tools. Put it into perform mode, and then, so cool.
For everybody who is not into sequencers, you should still watch the loop up video because it's very cool. I mean, just as a fan of gear, not all gear should be the same. Some gear should cater to one type of person, and some gear should cater to another type of person. There should still be certain quality standards and inspiration between the designs of those gear. And honestly, this it's flat out gorgeous. It's got a screen to die for. Even if trackers aren't your thing, you still might kind of enjoy it.
David Miner, what's going on?
I don't think I'm about to buy that, but I'm pretty sure, Ko, you got one on the way, right?
I do.
David, what's going on?
Yeah, and this thing's interesting.
doing?
It's not just a sequencer. It is a sequencer at the core, but also with the sample playback, manipulation, modulation, the wavetable synth. It's kind of awesome. It's basically like a Digitact, but very different.
You're going to make nothing but like Pansonic insanity. Just say it. It's fine. It's good.
It's the AFAX.
I really
tact.
like I would buy it if it didn't have the tracker on it, is the funny thing. So I'm almost like wondering if there's a decent case to be made for avoiding that.
What do you want, like a piano roll?
I would want no sequencer. Can this come out as just a standalone sampler and get rid of everything else, cut the price down?
So maybe like a $300 version that just has the wavetable and the sample playback, but no way to sequence
it's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Let me sequence on
Still, for
Octatrack or some way that I like.
A fucking steal.
It's a steal. Yeah.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
It might not even sequence. I might not even use that because it just looks like an awesome way to do sample playback.
Just plug in your Octatrack into the thing and just you plug your Octatrack and use the sequencer on that, and then use it for everything else. Easy peasy.
David Miner, you're not in the USA. Boy, when you get back, there's been some changes, man.
I would just like to point out that this weird little item right here with its spreadsheet style sequencer has an FM radio built in. The sample gods are pleased.
I love that. It's like the OP1.
OP1, yeah, OP1 did that. It's smart. It allows you to quickly grab something and just use it.
I do like what you said the other day, though, Ko. It made me laugh about the fact that it really does look like you're playing Eve online with this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great if you could like select a ship and just like cruise around your sequencer lanes in a Kestrel. I'd be all right with that.
Oh my God, you're in Norway in quarantine. That's right, you were going.
Norway. That's right, I remember that.
Yeah, you told us about that in the show. You're going there. You're gonna do music over there. Now you can't get out.
You're not stuck in the worst place you could be, so that's good at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I would still want to come home to my family, but I mean, you're quarantined. I guess you might as well make some music and extend your vacation. At least you got a welcome spot to stay.
Fucking rock it, dude.
I have no idea how long you're going to be in Norway for, but I'm guessing it's going to be a lot longer than any of us are guessing.
Yeah, I think that, Doug, regarding applications being signed for Catalina, I think the answer is don't use Catalina at this point. Like, it's very clear that Apple did not provide app developers very much guidance or, runway to actually support their operating system, which that's why users use a computer, is to use the applications from application providers. So if you're not fucking having that conversation with them well in advance of releasing your shitty new kernel, I don't feel bad for you. Yeah, it's just like, sorry, just fuck off. I'm going to use the old thing. Sorry, that was...
I love the rage moments, man.
Yeah, 2 years.
I love those.
I know, right? It's going to like watch this. I don't think that tracker will be an electron killer. They're completely different methods of working. I don't think
it's a different person who's going to use it.
One product is a killer for any other product. Yeah, I mean, it's just like I have a Deluge. I love my Deluge, but I'll still use my Octatrack, and I'll come up with completely different style jams using those things because they are different. And I don't really think that one product is going to kill another product at all. Except like Behringer dies in a fire eventually.
Well, if anything, I would just point out that if this looks interesting to you, but $599 is still too steep, don't worry. Come about October, November, you will absolutely find these on Reverb, probably for
20%.
Cheap. Yeah, because there are going to be a lot of people
Plus,
that buy this.
Drops their prices anyway.
Yeah, because it looks cool, and then they get it and go like, "Oh my God, trackers!" and they sell it.
Yeah, trackers are.
So my music news, my model cycles just shipped. Just got the notification.
Really?
Nice.
That's like the opposite of this thing.
So I'll get that on Monday.
It's going to be like so easy and immediate to use, whereas this thing is like you're going to have to like learn a new math to really use. Like, some people complain about menu diving
button, and
when people complain about menu diving, this is like menu diving, It's
this is spreadsheet generation. This is
a lot of people are going to get into this and hate it. Yeah. I don't even know what the fuck is going on right now. Actually, I do. It's kind of like a piano roll. It's just an event generator. There was a thing in Cubase that I used when I used Cubasis that was like an event log that actually took everything that was happening, and then it was like a roll, and it had a data stream like that, and you could actually go in and you could make these weird critical edits if you needed to. But that was like hell to me. But some people really liked that, and it was basically a tracker. Enjoy, dude.
Yeah,
this
Logic
is gonna,
has
knowing the way
you can do too.
you approach things, you are the person I believe who will really enjoy this coast. So enjoy this beautiful, albeit completely niche piece of electronic music gear.
I reinstalled Renoise the other night, just to kind of go sanity check my idea before I pulled the trigger on it, and it was immediately just bliss. I'm just like, oh hell yeah. It actually ran into one problem. I'm like, how come I can't plug in notes? I don't. Oh right, record, click. Brrr, oh, this is so good.
Yep, enjoy. Let's see. Do we listen to Hanging Out with Audiophiles episode with Machine Drum? You recommended that, and I totally forgot to listen to it.
I have it downloaded. I haven't listened yet, though.
It's insane.
The amount of driving that I've done recently has been curtailed, but I will listen to it.
Like, you went from not much because you work from home to none at all because we're all under lockdown.
Correct.
Yeah, the 10 minutes you used to drive a day.
In the past 2 weeks, I've gone to the grocery store and Taco Bell one time each.
Sounds about right.
Wow.
Yep. Well, guys, let's see. Is Tremendum on? They are. And I do think that we just did a pretty awesome thing for everyone who hung from us from the start to the back end. I would say we went 99.999% plague-free podcast, total escapism, but with intent on being able to teach people on how to learn something. We explained the gears. We just talked about the news a little bit near the end. This is a much more focused one, and I want to thank everybody who hung out with us. It's 12:02 a.m. Everyone has to work tomorrow. Who's on right now? So I think it's time for us to shut the stream down and head on out. So Ix, as usual,
thank you so much
for coming on. You do still need to read Sandworms of Dune so you can understand true pain. Let's see what we got. David Miner, have a good time in Norway. Even though you are not home, I hope you are well. I hope you managed to get some excellent local cuisine while you're there, because that's how I think of other countries. I always think of, I'm in Norway, I need to eat Norwegian fish, basically. Pickled things, herring.
Yeah, it's pretty much fish. Yeah.
If you're there, you might as well go
and hopefully you
out,
made some awesome tunes as well.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Wambra, we appreciate you. We love that you hang out so much. One day we will meet you when we're no longer under quarantine and we all go play pool.
At Shooters.
And that's all I got. At Shooters.
Yeah, I would just say, everybody, be safe, be smart. Do take this seriously, but
be sane.
Don't freak out. Just, you have the internet. Go play a video game. Relax.
This too shall pass, and
Porn.
we're gonna find new ways to adapt to it. Everyone who's worried about an existential dilemma needs to remember how resilient and adaptable we all are. So stick with it in the meantime. Nose to the grindstone. Be a person who contributes and helps other people, because that's very important as well. Be innovative in ways to find ways to bring your life to the next level and make your voice heard, so that when we come out of this on the other side, we not only are rebuilding the world that was, but helping to install the world as it should be, because this is a bit of a reboot moment for the species, right? We got to, there's an opportunity on the other side of this once scientists have their hero moment and bring us through, for us to say, okay, here we go. We're gonna set up some things that are a little bit different to prevent this and to take care of each other more. If you're watching the news, without getting too specific, you're probably seeing some very surprising things come out of people and that they're doing that you never would have thought they would have done a month ago. So
yeah,
that's, at least gives me some hope that underneath all of the shit, when the chips are really down, people start to do the right thing, even if it takes them a while. So let's all stay together. Let's all make music. Let's all have fun. Let's have our voices heard. And
let's all seize the means of production.
Yes, let's seize the means of production. Let's I don't know.
Streamers untie.
Streamers untie. That's right.
Yeah, alone in our basements.
Yes, we will rise up without rising up. And that's all I got.
Without leaving and being too close to people.
Yep. We're going to rise up without seeing each other.
To
No,
quote,
that's it. Use
to
the
quote
tools,
John
yeah.
Sine, music producers are already kind of familiar and comfortable with isolation and social distancing, so that's not so bad.
Pornhub, rise up, yes.
Have a fantastic rest of the week,
Indeed.
everybody. We will
To-
see you soon.
Cheers.
To quote John Cena,
Thanks a lot.
you can't see me. This has been Gear-Splaining 50.
Wow.